I get shit done, I have fun, it's my time and I'm the one. I'm breaking through.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Business Renovator. I'm your host, Coach Phil. Today we're going to have a terrific session, about an hour, and some really powerhouse individuals have decided to join me and answer some questions. So what are we going to talk about? Unleashing the power of innovation and creativity in business. So if you're watching us live today, appreciate you being here. That's awesome. If you have a question, fire them at us. If you're watching us on a replay, remember, it's hashtag replay. Again, if you've got some feedback, the good, the bad, and the ugly, that's how the Business Renovator evolves and gets better. If you have somebody that could be an interesting guest with a story to share, make an introduction. Happy to do that. I want to jump right into this, but there's some stuff I have to do. It's like my advertising. So here we go. Business growth score. Hey, if you want to get yours done, just go to my website at coachphil.ca. Click on the top right-hand corner, and there'll be a link there for you to do your own. And it's no charge, no credit card required. It's complimentary. And then if you get the score done and you find that you're doing great, you've done a check it from the neck up, as Zig Ziglar would say, and everything's cool, great, nothing else to do. However, if you find that there's an area there that you're challenged with, again, 30-minute complimentary coaching session with myself. What I'm really stoked about is if I'm not the right guy for you, I have a group around the globe of other focal pointers. And what I'm stoked about today, there's like, I don't know, 5 of us on here. So if there's one that resonates with you after watching this, reach out to them because I'm sure they'd be happy to offer you the same proposition. So I'm going to try and bring everybody up here to start off unleashing the power of innovation and creativity in business. So here they come, not in any particular order, but any button I push, they'll bring them up. Here they come, one at a time. Round of applause from the crowd. Here they are. Hey, welcome, and thank you for taking your time to fit us in. We're going to be here for about an hour. I'm going to share some of your wisdom with our audience now and in the future. Yes, wisdom. Some of us have a lot. Some interesting people. So I'm going to start with, let's start with Angie and get you to, hang on, I just got a message. This is so big. How big is this? I can't get right in the screen at the same time. Hang on. We have a guest there she is, Mickey, my co-host. Yay! So I'm going to go around the horn. I'm going to start with Angie. And as I pop up the banners, that's what I'm going to do. When I pop up the banners of how we can get a hold of you, that's who will speak next. So take it away, Angie. Who are you?
Well, thank you, Coach Phil, for having me here today. Nice to meet all these other wonderfully smart people. I am a communication coach, but widely known as the LinkedIn lady, which is okay. I'm starting to embrace it. So I'm a storyteller. I help people find the right words to talk to the right people in the right places, but B2B platform, LinkedIn is the place to be. So I like to work with companies and help them tell their stories on LinkedIn and just create a nice integrated system to make sure everybody knows who we are and what we do. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. Oh, look at that. Alan, you're up next.
I guess it's me. Hi, I'm Alan Caraway. I am Alaska's first focal point business and executive coach. I've been in business or teaching business for the better part of the last 2 decades, from guiding coffee shops and medical practices, chiropractors, therapists, and the like. whether it's brewing success in coffee shops or helping small businesses, I really like inspiring growth and creativity. And I'm really excited to be joining this conversation today.
And we're grateful that you're here. It's really darn early there, right?
It is very early here.
Look who's up next, Jeff.
Hi, I'm Jeff Carlton. I'm a 30-plus year veteran, the Navy and the Air Force, and I've repurposed my experience as a fighter pilot and aerospace engineer to help business owners and help them overcome their challenges and become more successful. I'm a big champion of innovation and process improvement, and it makes things better. Work smarter, not harder.
Again, thanks for being here. Look at this, Mikey.
Nice to be back here, Phil. Mikey Pearson from beautiful, rainy Southern California. And I work with entrepreneurs, small business owners, solopreneurs, partnerships around the country on defining and achieving their goals and having the leadership and communication skills to get it done. And moving forward and embracing technology and innovation is absolutely what I'm all about. Thanks, Phil.
Hey, again, thanks for being here.
Hey, good morning. Thanks. Marsh Dumlau, Focal Point Business Coach. Help business leaders find their North Star, time, team, money, and future, keeping things cool with clarity, optimization, opportunities, and leadership.
Great. Thanks for being here. And Alan.
Good morning, Alan Burris. And I combine my military, martial art, business degree, law degree, and other experiences into programs to help people stay safe and enjoy life. That includes communication programs as well as safety programs. And unfortunately, my most popular program is How to Survive an Active Shooter, because I wrote this giant book on that topic. And I would gladly quit teaching this if people would quit killing each other. But because of the violence that goes on in the world, I'm out there trying to empower people to stay safe, not paranoid, so they can enjoy everything else that's wonderful in the world to enjoy.
And thank you for being here, Alan. And my co-host and good friend. Who are you?
My name is Mickey Mycorth, and most people know me because I'm a math geek. Lovable, huggable, but working for business. So if you're afraid of numbers, let's hang out.
Let's hang out. If you're afraid of numbers, that's right. And she has a great sense of humor and very creative too. If you're following her on social media, lots of positive energy, lots of great feedback, and actually the catalyst to having this panel group. We've been doing this a little bit over a year now. And
I'm so excited about how smart this panel is today.
yes, it's massively.
I'm a little crazy over it.
A little crazy. Well, why don't you start off with what's your first question that you want to have answered?
Well, I mean, I was trying to think that there's so many different parts of knowledge in here. I almost want to ask them what we should ask because they all have such different varieties of knowledge.
I got a question then.
Okay.
What's your number one thing in and around innovation and creativity in business? How about sharing that with us?
Oh, there it is. There it is. Alan, go. You want to go first since you're in the middle?
Me?
Hollywood Square-ish.
Okay, cool. Well, certainly. So the question is what is? Ask it again, please. Sorry, I got.
What's your favorite idea in and around innovation and creativity in business?
Well, what I love to do is just encourage imagination. You know, when we were children, we had no problem with this. If you ever watch a child, watch them solve problems. Watch them drag a tote from underneath the stairs into the kitchen and then put a milk crate on top of that and then a toaster and then the dining room table so that they could get to the jar of cookies on top of, the cabinet that they're not supposed to have. Children find all kinds of exciting and creative ways to solve problems. And so I like encouraging business owners to embrace that mind of the child and think creatively. Don't tell yourself, well, that doesn't make sense to add into this equation. That's nonsense, because sometimes nonsense is exactly what we need in business.
Yeah, sometimes nonsense is the most sense. Thank you
Right.
for that, Alan. Who's up next?
Wow. Well, Phil, why don't we go to you?
Oh, sure. Pick on me.
Well, you're in the middle.
How did that happen?
It's so funny.
Well, it's very similar to what Alan's talking about. I had this mantra: how can I creatively and innovatively solve the problem? And I fill in the blank. And what I liked about what Alan was talking about, I made a note here, is have a burning desire, which is easier to go after what you really want versus what I have to go after that. We'll find ways not to go after it if we don't really want to go after it. So number one is have a burning desire, and be childlike in your creative thinking, not adult-like, where, yeah, no, that won't work. Whereas a kid doesn't know, they don't care. They make stuff up and then stuff happens. So that's kind of my favorite thing. How can I creatively and innovatively get this done, whatever the blank is, and fill it in and move towards that? What I find is that we get inspired, intuitive ideas that we can act on. And in that acting, as one of the principles we have in the focal point world, is the pebble in the pond or on the pond. And that ripple effect turns into other creative juices and ideas, people we connect with, books we read, podcasts we show up on, questions we get asked, answers we throw into the universe. I got to put somebody else in the middle now. How do I do that? Watch this.
Let's see who's in the middle. Oh, Marsh, it's you.
Hey, thank you. Diverse perspectives, right? When you have a team, you take a look at, and I've learned this in the Navy, is you're out there 200 days straight, and there are certain missions that you got to complete. Sometimes things are cut and dry, others are not. So you have diverse perspectives. Look at it. The prioritized leader talks about two types of cultures or two types of identities, pioneers and developers. So you have the pioneers and developers, and you take in both of them and you respect their differences, and you bring in those perspectives. And then you go through some mind-storming decision-making where, like you said there, Phil, is that, you're there for quantity, right? Just, it doesn't matter whether you think it's a good or bad idea. Just throw it out there and then mind-storm it.
Excellent.
Wow, I love it. Oh, I knew Angie was coming next. This is almost a betting game for me.
This is so fun. I'm enjoying it too, right? It's like The Price is Right. Are you going to get called? Or it's very exciting. Here I am.
Yeah, so, I do. I am finger nibbling. Yes.
Wait, we had a technical difficulty here.
Oh, we good? Okay. Well, I'm going to let this snowball from where Marsh was. I think collaboration. I like the concept of working together because I see it so much in what I do. We don't see ourselves as cool as other people see us sometimes. And when you work with somebody else, you get to see from different perspectives, and they help you build your story in a way you couldn't see. I mean, very often we answer the question in business, what problem do you solve? And we've all read Simon Sinek and all those things, and they're the same questions. But one thing we really struggle with is why me? But once you bring someone else in and they tell you why you think, oh, wow, is that me? That's very cool. So I love the idea of, with creativity, I think the key is to bring in not just other people, but also your competitors. A lot of people shy away, think your competitor is your enemy. And I've always said your competitor can be your best friend. They can be your referral source. They can create ideas with you that someone on the outside of your industry may not. So I think that's a really important piece of creativity, is working with other people, playing with other kids in the sandbox, right?
I like that, playing with other kids in the sandbox. That's brilliant. And rolling the dice. Oh, look who it is.
We're testing my thought process here, because I keep trying to think who you're going to pick.
Jeff, you're up.
I guess the big thing from my perspective is sometimes the best ideas are free. You don't need a $20,000 3D printer sometimes to solve your problem. Sometimes what you need is just a simple process change to the internal assets you already have available. Some of the biggest changes that we've made in organizations I've worked with in the past were simply just a different angle of attack on how we were going to solve a problem, as opposed to buying a new tool or a new widget. We were able to just look at it from a different perspective, and it really plays off what Alan said about looking at things with no constraints. It's like the Guy Clark song, "The Cape." Spread your arms, hold your breath, and always trust your cape. Sometimes you just got to take that leap of faith and look at doing things a different way instead of the same way that you've always done it. And it's a hugely powerful method of innovation that costs you nothing.
Yeah, great advice. I was busy writing notes.
Me too.
Some really great ideas coming up here. Who is going to be next? It's getting down to the short strokes. I wonder. I'm thinking, there we go.
Some fantastic advice and answers by everybody so far. And I'd like to take it a little different direction, which when we have these creative ideas, sometimes people fail to take action upon them. So I think one of the most important things is to take action on the creative ideas. And one of the most creative people that I admire was Walt Disney, who had such an imagination, had such creativity. And one of his famous quotes, "The way to get started, quit talking and start doing." And I think that is so important, that we need to do and take action on our creativity. Someone recently asked me about advice for writing a book. And I said, the best advice I ever heard years ago: button chair, fingers on keyboard. Actually start writing. Let the creativity flow, the ideas flow into your manuscript. So taking action on our creative ideas, I think, is so important.
Yeah, I'm going to steal this, leverage it, utilize it. Quit talking, start walking. Love it.
Ooh.
That's what I got out of that. And you reminded me of somebody else that you and I know, maybe some of the other guests do as well, and that's Michael Heppel. And he wrote a book called 17. And what I like about that book is the whole story about 17 is about taking action. And he in his Geordie Northern English accent, he would say, if you want to write something, start writing. Sit down and write for 17 minutes. Something good will come out of it. You won't write shite for 17 minutes. Something good comes out of it. So, yeah, take action. That's brilliant. Any other thoughts or comments you want to add on or hitch to what we've heard from the rest of your panelists, buddies?
Yeah, I'd like to give it a go if I could.
Yeah.
So for me at this stage of my career, I really focus on growth-oriented clients. If they're not passionate about growth, I'm not the right fit. And so using really COVID as a switch to say, if you're not innovating now, if you're not re-looking at your business, if you're not passionately thinking about how you're going to evolve, you're probably going to be left behind, or you're just going to be stale. So one of the mechanisms I use that I find really important is to work hard at getting my business owners out of their business, out of their head, out meeting other people, meeting financial people, meeting other business owners, which is perfect. That was said earlier. Just meeting maybe fractional CFOs or CMOs and just chatting with them. So I find that for people to grow, sometimes they need to be inspired. And I can help with that inspiration. But when they get out and meet people or I introduce them to people, it really can make a difference. So another key for me is I keep a very extensive referral network of experts in all different fields. I'm constantly adding to it, constantly refining it, so I can help my clients meet the people they need to meet to help innovate and grow their business.
Yeah, I like that. I'm going to go back to something that Mickey was talking about. Angie was talking about. I haven't asked Mickey for her to jump in yet, have I? And that was to collaborate with your competitors, because we can't all do everything, and maybe your competitors could be your next best business partner, because they bring something to the table that they're better at. That's not our strength, and the value we give to our clients is 10x with very little effort.
Yeah. And going back to Angie's point, you know, when I think about them as collaborators, sometimes they are your co-innovator. And I think that's what she was also saying is that you have so much more power to innovate when you have somebody that knows as much stuff as you do.
Yes.
Am I making that up, Angie, or did I hit it right?
No, that's exactly what I was saying. And to take it a step further, I think something that is starting to happen from a lot from COVID is we had the opportunity to sit around and just get to know people for a year because we couldn't do anything else, right? So maybe it was on Zoom, but we had a lot more time to make connections. And I see a lot more collaboration, not just in ideas and innovation, which is step one, but tools. I see business coaches getting together, having a tool that they can share with other clients, and then they're white labeling. So it starts with the stirring creativity and getting ideas, but it can roll or snowball into, my name's really convenient sometimes, but it really kind of can snowball into business opportunities, referral fees. It can turn into a monetary benefit as well. So I think there's a lot to be said for collaboration, and it starts with that creativity.
You know, there was a book written in the early 1900s called Think and Grow Rich. And one of the principles in there is a mastermind principle, and that was collaborating with other like-minded people. Kind of like what we're doing right now. We're kind of in our own mastermind, a virtual show on the Business Renovator. So, and we're getting some really cool ideas that may not have come up any other way today for some of us.
And Mickey had asked me to talk about white labeling. I'm so glad you did, because honestly, 5 years ago, I'm not afraid to tell you I had no idea what it was. And people were bringing it to me and said, well, have you considered white labeling? I'm like, well, let me just Google that real quick. So the concept of white labeling is that you work with your competitors. I white label with another marketing company because I only do LinkedIn. But generally speaking, people are like, hey, that's working. Can you also do my Google? Can you also do my Facebook? And I don't want to do that. I'm an expert on LinkedIn. I want to stay an expert and devote my time to that B2B. So if someone needs that, they go to my favorite marketing company, and then I take away a monetary benefit from them working with that company.
I love that idea. What I just heard you say was something that I heard at one of our conferences at Focal Point. It was actually in San Diego, and a wonderful coach was there, and she was talking about staying in her lane, and all she did was leadership and sales, didn't do any of the other stuff we offer, and she's hugely successful because she stays in her lane. So picking LinkedIn as your area of expertise and not dabbling in all the other things, it's a really good strategy.
Thanks, Coach Phil.
Does anybody else have anything to talk about white labeling? Because I think that's another innovation that we could bring to our audience today.
Yeah.
Do you guys use much of it at all, or use it in your tech pieces?
I don't directly, but I have a business associate that's actually bought a CRM system.
Yep.
And it's white labeled to him, and he
Yep.
resells it to other people. And I've met a few other outsourcers that do the same thing.
Yeah. And I think you're seeing that,
Yeah.
right? So for me, innovation, right, is really about, right, I'm a math geek. So of course I spend a lot of time with blockchain. I'm here in the Midwest. So I spend a lot of time in the Midwest. In Minnesota is the state that I live in, with blockchain here. We have a huge deal coming up soon with blockchain on what's called tokenomics. So I think when I look at innovation, I look to tech. That's where my math geek self is going, of how do you get tech into our lives in a way that's not crummy or invasive, which is hard to do, but big data is really giving you a lot of options. So when I look to innovation, I'm looking at what many of you have talked about, like what are the problems that your businesses need to be solving? That there are a lot of problems that are being solved, but what they're also looking for is what is the information I need to be getting? And that, I think, is part of the innovation you're seeing right now, is what is the information you need to be getting?
I think if you're not innovating, you're in trouble. Because if we stay in the way if we do business the way we've always done business, then, well, there's companies that aren't here anymore.
Yellow
Sears, gone.
Pages.
Yellow Pages.
Blockbuster.
Blockbusters, yeah, it goes on and on. So, probably a good idea to be rigidly flexible in your offering and paying attention to what you're doing, and do what Auntie was talking about. Find the thing that you're an expert in and become an expert in it, and evolve as it evolves, and add other things to it. But LinkedIn is her space. That's where she plays. Thoughts, comments around that?
Well, it reminds me of a quote from the book How to Soar Like an Eagle in a World Full of Turkeys. If you don't like change, you're gonna love extinction.
Yes.
Wow.
That's a great quote.
That's a great one.
That is great. And it's sort of interesting that you mentioned Blockbuster, because Netflix has pretty much helped Blockbuster's demise. And now Netflix is stopping their DVD mail service. That is what helped kill Blockbuster, because now it's all streaming. So even an innovation there grew its time, and it had to move on to something else as well. Everything's changing.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, the one thing that's constant is
Change.
Yeah.
Change.
Whether you want to or not.
Can I go back to one of the ideas that our panelists gave was taking action, taking action. Any tips there? Anybody using some books? Anything we can give to our audience on things that you've been reading, or things that help you take action on innovative ideas? Because sometimes that's a stumbling block, that it's new and I don't know what to do, so I don't know how to take action. What are you doing? What are you doing to take action? And Alan, that was yours from the first beginning. What are you doing?
One, as people know, if they watch my live shows and such, I read a ton. I mean, I usually say I have to read 101 books minimum per year, and I've already read 100 books this year, so I'm way over before the year even ends. So reading, I think, is extremely important. Also, I think it's important to have a culture and an atmosphere that keeps you motivated to do things. I mean, I said I liked Walt Disney, and Walt Disney tries, thinking of him helps me imagine and be a better storyteller. It's not a coincidence that I have a storyteller statue sitting here on my desk to help remind me of that. And so I think creating a culture and an atmosphere to help our ideas flow is important. And then again, I am a big fan of reading constantly to get new ideas and learn things and better myself. And even if you just get one idea per book, it can help you expand and do more.
Yeah. Jeff, what are you doing for action? Where are you at?
Well, I want to expand on something that Alan just brought up about the culture. So we led a huge innovation initiative my last few years in the Air Force. And the biggest success that we had, and it took some time, I showed up and here I am, this colonel, and I've got 18 to 23-year-old airmen in the room, and I'm like going, okay, so tell me what's wrong. I was a guy with a big budget and I was looking for a problem to solve. I didn't know what the problem was though. And so the most valuable thing that came out of that was eventually I started walking into these group brainstorming sessions in a pair of shorts, flip-flops, and a golf shirt. And as soon as I disarmed them from who they thought I was, and we opened up the communication, all of a sudden, the people that were actually doing the JOB started coming out with their problems and their challenges. And then we were able to actually do innovation that actually had impact, as opposed to, hey, look, we got a $20,000 3D printer. Well, now what we really needed was a $2,000 scheduling software to help free up our time. So when we established that culture of open communication with the workforce, that was the most valuable thing that came out of our innovation effort. And so establishing that culture and the communications was far more valuable. I couldn't even monetize how valuable that was to empowering the people that needed the help.
You know what I like about that? No, you don't, because you can't read my mind. But I'm going to tell you. what I like about that idea, and I made a note here, make it a safe environment for people to express themselves. Take the
Exactly.
friction
And
and the risk of making a mistake and making it. It's like this. I don't know if this story correlates, but I'm going to share it anyway because it's my show. I had a sales manager who when he was working, suit and tie, and really sharp dressed, he wanted to go out and buy a car. Now, this is a little bit different than what you're talking about. He liked to wear flip-flops, shorts, and T-shirts on the weekend. He went to buy the top of the line Pontiac Bonneville, and they went in there, and the guy went like this when he walked in there. And remember, he's in a T-shirt and shorts and flip-flops, and the guy reading the newspaper, he looks over. You think you can afford that? Oh man, that was the worst thing to do. He did not understand making the environment safe for the people showing up. So he went away, went to another dealership, came back, brought the guy out and said, yeah, can you praise my car? I just bought it. So that's the highest level of diplomacy, is having somebody taking a trip to hell, looking forward to it, and not even realize that's where you told them to go. Anyway, I don't know if that's relevant, but it just spoke to me to share. So here it is.
I think someone else already said something, and it might have been you, Coach Phil, about if you want to write a book, start 17 minutes a day or something. I think creating a habit and creating a routine is a big key to action, whatever that is. I coach a lot with LinkedIn, and people get all excited and they'll go away and do nothing. Right? You don't have to do everything at once. Make a commitment to get on there 3 minutes a day. When you wake up in the morning, like something, watch something, then put it away. Just building that habit. That's also why the program with coaching works with the businesses, because they get like the training, but then there's 6 to 12 weeks where you meet for an hour every week and everybody just sits around and does their LinkedIn. But it's creating that habit, because then after the 12 weeks, well, you're so used to doing it. Wednesday at 11 is my time. I'm just going to do it. So I think anything that you're doing, creating a routine and creating a habit is a big key to action.
Yeah, I agree with that. Marsh, do you have something to add to that? Because you're kind of guy that gets shit done.
Well, writing a book took 5 weeks to write a book, right? I retired from federal service and then started a networking to network and did this blue ocean strategy networking, right? So here I am in the tech world, but now I'm networking with publishers and authors. And I said, I pitched my idea in last September, and they go, hey, that's a great idea. Get me that book in November. I said, 5 weeks? He goes, yeah. And so I wrote the book in 5 weeks, and they put it out on Times Square. So yeah, and that's actually, I'm living that book, right? So Mike Pearson, thank you for, showing that book. You live that dream, you live that journey, is that you do take the first 5 steps. Right. And once you move forward, the seas will part. That's what I say. Keep moving forward. And Jeff, I like the part about keeping things simple. Right. I think those are the things that we look at, whether you use Occam's, razor, those type of methodologies, or even design thinking, is just to look at things and keep it simple. Find out, we keep on adding processes, technology, and things to our business and processes. And we find out that the more and more we add, the more complex it gets. Right, C equals S to the squared. You keep on adding, and it just gets exponentially more difficult, more touch points to hit, more pain points. And so, take a look at things and keep things simple.
Somebody like to quote, "When you move forward, the sea will part."
It's so good.
I love it.
It's so visual.
It is really good.
Yeah, I'd like to.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'd like to add just a little piece here. I mean, as a neurodiverse individual, somebody who enjoys being extremely, I don't say I suffer from anything. I enjoy being extremely neurodiverse. This is huge for me. And the concept of safety, it seems so silly, oh, here's this big dude talking about safety. But there's, safety is the opposite of fear. It lowers, when you have an environment where you have a good, safe place for conversations, it lowers the courage threshold for innovation to enter the conversation. For somebody to say, you know what, I've got a crazy idea. Have we ever considered this? If you have a very low element of safety in your organization, somebody's not going to offer those solutions to you. They're not going to put those things out there. So I really appreciate the conversation around these things and how we can create areas to allow that innovation to occur. Like breaking the conversation down. Sometimes, I know for me, the giant is huge and it's hard to figure out a way to get around them. But if you can make it smaller, if you can say, okay, this project is really large, but let's focus on the small part. What is one small thing that we can accomplish today to get this project moving forward? Then we can at least get those wheels spinning and get ourselves getting traction and pulling ourselves up out of the mud. Sorry for all the Alaska references there.
That's all right. That's all good. It's very colorful, even in the mud. So that brings me to one of the questions I do have, and I think it's one we should probably hang out with a little bit, because fear of failure, of risking things can stifle the creative process. No matter who you are, what flavor and style you are, a lot of introverted people have brilliant ideas, but they don't share them because they're afraid of ridicule. And they're passing up the opportunity to make a large impact in a non-extroverted way, but with a thoughtful sort of thing. So I'm going to ask you, how do you suggest business leaders create an environment where failure is seen as a plus, a stepping stone? One of my mentors, whether she knows it or not, because Sarah Blakely doesn't know me, but I've been studying her because she's amazing. And one of the things her father did in and around breaking down the barriers around fear was he would ask his kids, her and her brother, what did you fail at today? So totally doing a 180, whereas most of us have grown up with you shouldn't fail, you should do everything perfectly. Well, that's BS. That's not possible. Fail is first attempt in learning, is what we do after that. So I'm sure with the group that we have here, we could share some of wisdom on things that we've done individually to help people elevate their efficacy, their ability to get shit done much better. You'd like to chime in on that?
I'll jump in here. I think that's well said. I think one of our jobs as coaches here is to help our organizations communicate and feel safe and be able to have those difficult conversations. And that's definitely one of the focuses of my practice, is teaching the leaders how to have the difficult conversations, but not make them difficult, to have them easily and with the right tone of voice. So once you establish that, and everyone does feel comfortable, it's actually good, I think, to push and get people a little uncomfortable again on purpose and let them know, hey, we're not looking for perfection. We're looking for growth. We're looking for new ideas. So introducing all my clients, which is obvious, to ChatGPT and the like, has been an important part of that, learning a new technology there. Another way I've done that's been really successful is I've actually, I go on probably a few too many vacations, but if I'm gone for a while, I'll often hire another coach to come in and give a guest talk on a subject to my clients. And the impact on that is huge. They trust me, we work together, and now I'm bringing someone else to give a different look at it and sort of shake things up. And I find that kind of interplay with my clients really successful.
I like that idea about collaborating with your individuals and other coaches to bring them in while you're off recreating. That's RE-create. It's really important to take time off to recreate, get the brain juices going, the creative process.
Yeah, I've done it and brought a coach in while I was there on sort of a group Zoom. That's fine. It's better if I'm not there and let them just go and experience it. And even I've even brought in a coach that was pretty out there. He's not a focal point coach. And he really shook up one organization in a really great way. The owner was forever grateful. He came in and talked about trauma and really shook people up in the right way. So I think once you've earned trust, that's when you can start to push.
Oh, absolutely. Who else would like to add to that from your point of view?
I'll throw in a concept on the don't be afraid to fail. Fail early, fail often, right? We've heard that. But if you are not afraid to fail and you try a methodology or you try and innovate something and it doesn't work, and you turn around, you're scratching your head and you're going, wow, That wasn't as cool as I thought it was going to be. That's okay, because you had a desired end state. And so if you've established the goal, you have the vision of where you want to go. Just because you didn't figure out how the hell to get there correctly the first time doesn't mean the second or third iteration is going to be equally unsuccessful. The important thing is that you had a vision, and you had a desired end state of what you wanted it to look like down the road. How you get there can be an iterative process. It doesn't have to be perfect the first time out of the chute. And so, but getting to the point where somebody is actually going to say, what do I want the desired end state to be, is really the first step. Like writing a book in 5 weeks. How do I want the book to read? What do I want the book to say? Well, that paragraph sucked. I'm going to go back and rewrite it. That's cool. It's the same thing with innovation. If you have a desired end state, then you evolve the process of how you achieve it.
Yeah, that's start with the end in mind, have a burning desire. All of that stuff is really important. I like the idea of adding an extra coach in there. That's kind of cool. Angie made a note here. It's really important not to compare ourselves to others, compare ourselves to ourselves. Let's be our next best self in the next hour, in the next half hour, or the next half day, or the next day. And don't compare ourselves to others, because I'm going to do a little plug for what I do at the end, but I'm going to do it. It's so important. The you and wonderful represents you. We're all unique. We're all wonderful in our own way. So continue doing that. Don't compare yourself to other people. Borrow their traits. So if you like something about them, like the way Marsh shows up for the shows all the time, I gotta start dressing better. He looks awesome.
I wanted to add one little thing.
I feel like I should
I love what Alan put there. Perfection is the slayer of dreams. Because when people were talking about fear of failure, I was also thinking there's also a fear of being the best, a fear of not being perfect that prevents people from getting started sometimes. And so I think it's really important that we realize, like it has been said, that we're not always going to be the best. It's not going to be the perfect, but it's those stepping stones, because everything that is created around us at one time was deemed impossible until somebody made it possible.
Yeah, like the 4-minute mile by Bannister, or a day and a half off the race, like Cliff Young talks about. Well, he didn't talk about it. He wrote about it. He was an Australian who actually took a day and a half off an ultra marathon. An old guy, 62, and they were kind of thinking he was nuts. But anyway, he didn't know, and he just carried on and broke the record. And they wanted him to stop because the finish line was supposed to be on Saturday, and he was going to be done on the day and a half before. And he just kept doing the Cliff Young shuffle. So what happened the next year is all the other expert runners broke his record. Once somebody breaks the paradigm, then others step up into it. So how can we continue to be paradigm shifters?
Think like children.
What's that?
I said, think like children.
Yeah. Think like what?
Children.
Yes. Be childlike in our
the
thinking.
Unbounded imagination of a child.
Absolutely. Great question, Mickey. Why don't you ask that question?
I'm gonna. Okay. So as we go forward, well, I wanted to give our guests a chance to think about it. For all of you who are watching, we have a little chat box on the side that helps us stay together. And I think what I love about this panel is I walk away with a ton of notes. Every time you see my head down, I'm writing something down that's magical that our guests are saying. But we all learn from each other. So I'm going to just ask all of our guests, what's the number one innovation reminder that you got from each other today?
Well, I guess I could start here, and I'll kind of tie this with our last comment here, where we were talking about failure and everything, and to me, I've never really been afraid of failure. It's more a fear of letting people down that are depending on me. Ooh, and so
that's a
knowing,
big distinction. Oh, I'm writing that down right now.
Yeah, it's like when you're riding a bike as a kid. I love calling back to being a kid because I consider myself still to be one. I'm the world's oldest child. But like when you're riding a bike and you fall down and you skin your knee, You get back up, you get on the bike, and you ride again because it's low risk, right? You're going to skin your knee. Oh, well, you're going to skin your knee 100 times when you're a kid. Skin your knee. Experience the failure of a skinned knee and learn how to ride that bike. But when you're older and you have so many more things on the line. So to me, one of the things that I heard somebody say today was trust your cape. That concept of trusting your cape, spreading your arms, closing your eyes, and just going for it. Knowing that if you fall, if you rack the bike, you're just going to skin your knee. You're going to be okay. You're going to survive. You're going to get through it.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's powerful. Angie, you're in the middle.
Oh, yay. It's so exciting when you hit the middle. Because I have a couple of things. I love the concept, and you hear it all the time: progress, not perfection, or whichever way you hear it. But it kind of brings together. We talk so much about collaboration, and just being on this call with all of you reminded myself of something I hear every day: progress, not perfection. There are things I'm going to do today that I've been too busy to do because I'm waiting for them to be perfect. And I sit here with all of you and think, that's silly. You're not that busy. Just go do them. They may not be perfect. You can do them again later. Or like Coach Phil said, fail is the first attempt in learning. And it's just all these things I feel like we know, but it's just so good to get together to remind each other of things we know and we start to take for granted. So I felt very motivated and inspired by all of you. Thank you.
I think I've written down that quote from Coach Phil at least 5 times now. Because I think it is my favorite. But I don't know, Coach Phil, where did that fail? Is that from someone's body of work?
Yeah, somebody's.
Someone will let us know in the comments.
I don't remember where I picked that up. I don't know. It was but a long time ago.
Yeah, I still love it.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, I still love it. Well, okay. Anyone else want to tell us what their innovation reminder is from today's chat of learning from each other?
I'll go. I really like the keep moving forward and the seas will part, because I talked about it's important to get started, but once you're started, it is so important to keep moving forward, and the sea will part. So I really like that.
Yeah, and I don't know who do we give credit for that to? Who was that again?
Isn't that Marsh?
I think it was Marsh said that.
Actually, that quote is actually from Scripture. When the Israelites were pitted up with the Egyptian army, Moses went to God, and so we see the movie in Charlton Heston where he stretches out his arms and the sea parts. Well, there's a phrase. There's actually a verse before that, and God said, "Why are you crying to me? Move forward."
Right.
So that is not my thing. It's actually
But you brought it up today in our conversation. I'll take that. What are you taking away today?
I like keeping things simple, and I actually took 2, right? I like what Alan said too about reading a different perspective, right? Change your perspective, change your views, and innovation will happen. And keeping things simple.
I'm glad you didn't say the KISS formula, where there's a derogatory way to say it, and I don't like that way. But the KISS formula is keep it so simple, not the other one.
And who's next? Who did I forget? Who did we forget?
I guess I haven't gone yet. I would really like to throw back to what Alan kind of led off with, of thinking like a child. Is that innovation doesn't happen if you carry your constraints with you into the conversation. You have to stop imagining why it won't work and get into the mind space of how it could work. And it's important, the could. How could it work? Coach Phil always says, how do I creatively and innovatively? It's a more complicated way of saying, how could I do this? And if you get into the space of how could I, and you lose the constraints of well, that won't work because, that's big. So thinking like a kid is a great way to think about that. So I really like that one.
That was great.
And I'll jump on the Alan bandwagon too, because he's on fire right now.
And in the middle, and he's in the middle.
Yeah, he's a starring role. Perfection is a slayer of dreams. I love that. It's a great quote. It just makes me think back to how many times working with clients, it's not getting it right. It's moving forward. It's making that next step. I'm thinking of a client I have now. I have to meet with tomorrow, and things are not going great. And I know that the owner his head can start to go south. And it's constant reminders to him that, hey, we're moving forward. We're not stopping. We're not sitting here. This isn't working. We're going to move forward, and it won't be perfect. So well said, Alan.
Has everybody contributed?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's amazing.
I know.
What did you take away, Phil? From our guest, this is such a great panel.
Well, yeah, I have a lot of things. A lot of reminders of things. Some great quotes that I've got written down. I'm going to go back and watch the replay. There's some great nuggets in here. I'm going to continue to be childlike. Well, actually, I think I got one. I think I have that one nailed most days. But some days when I get stressed out, I become an angry adult, a know-it-all teenager, a frustrated. No, I'm not using that word. Not a nice guy. Anyway, so staying in a childlike creative mindset is a better place to hang out and do more of the mental fitness exercises that I know of to help me get into that state of mind so that and don't beat myself up when I fall below the line and become a annoying, angry, tired individual, because that happens to us all. We're humans. To elevate ourselves and don't be too hard on moi. That's what I'm going to do. How about you, Mickey?
Here's the first thing I'm taking away is that everyone's smiling. That when I look at everyone around here, you can tell that everyone had a good time today. So one, it is so much easier to innovate when you're at that moment of expression, when you can express from that creative energy. And creative energy makes it a lot easier to move forward. When you're moving forward and you're happy and you're excited and you're glad to be here.
That brings me to something I wanted to talk about earlier, and that is leveraging the improv space. And what I mean by that is, instead of when we offer up an idea, we're in a group like this, not us, because we don't do this, what I'm going to say, but you're in a meeting with somebody, and you've got a great idea, and you offer it up, and they go, yeah, no, we're not going to do that, or yeah, but, right? It takes the wind right out of your sails. It's like getting kicked in the belly, knocked in the head, and you're not going to step in and share anything because it's uncomfortable. One of the things we like to do is stay in our comfort zone. We're designed to do that. We have this thing called our creative subconscious mind, and its job is to maintain sanity for us no matter what. So we take a risk and we get shot down like that. Don't do that. Here's what we're going to do. You ever been to improv? Good improvers say, yes, let's, or yes, and they build a story and they come up with a creative process that gives them an end result. And often at the end of it, they have a moral of the story. So how can we use that in our day-to-day activity? Well, we use the yes and. Yes, what I like about that idea is, and then you build on it. And there's no yeah buts or no, we're not going to do that, because it kills the opportunity for people to take a risk. It makes it safe by saying yes and. If we just think that every idea, no matter how bad it is, 10% of it's good, and then just build on that 10%. We could play around with that right now. I think what I like to do is talk about what we can do to make the next panel even more educational and more better. And what I'm thinking going to do is take some of the ideas I've gleaned from this experience and make the agenda more detailed and give it better in advance and do a better job of making sure everybody's got the links and the information and what to expect. Who would like to add on to that? We're going around the horn. I'm going to play yes and what I like about that idea.
Yes and yes and we should do that. And yes and we should look at some of the books that we're all reading and share them with each other.
Yes, and the apps. I learned so many apps. Coach Phil's one guy who's always telling me a new app, but lots of people are using cool apps there's so many free things out there and you don't know. And it's so much easier when somebody says, hey, use this. It does this instead of researching them.
Yes, and I love that. Looking at apps, looking at books, looking at all those things. And I love to go out and just meet people. Just do your blue ocean networking, not just coaches, but go out and meet people of diverse backgrounds.
I'll jump in next. Yes, and take a guide with you. You don't have to go on this journey alone. Books are great. Lectures are wonderful. They're parts of, the pantheon of what we do. But everybody needs a coach. Everybody needs somebody they can bounce ideas off of. Take a guide.
And yes, and be flexible. Don't show up with such a rigid agenda that you can't change on the fly. You show up and someone's headspace isn't where you hope they would be. Just switch gears and find another way. Close what you're doing. Go for a hike. Do something. But yes, and.
Yes, and something that Angie said earlier about, the systems that we have in place or the routines we have in place, sharing what routines that have helped us be successful in certain things.
Lots of great ideas.
Yes, and don't be afraid to fail early and often, and share those failures. Don't be shy about what didn't work. It's okay to go, well, I tried this, and yeah, it wasn't as cool as I thought it was going to be, because then somebody else won't try it too.
Yeah, there's not enough time in a lifetime to learn everything from scratch. So borrow from others' experiences for sure. Wow. You know what? We're getting to the wrap-up part of this, and I almost hate to close it down, but we all have things to do, people to help, and lives to live. So I want to thank everybody for being here. Mickey, any last parting words that you have?
Well, I think once again, today's day, first of all, if you're watching this not live, thank you so much. If you have not signed on, there's a reason that we are gaining so many followers. Please like and subscribe. We do always need that. For those of you who are watching this, find these friends on LinkedIn, that they are on LinkedIn. So, yeah, right. Kind of look around, make some new friends, and look at the other content, because there's so much here. And don't forget, put it into the chat box. Coach, one of the things I do like about Coach Phil is he does respond. You do respond when people put questions in or do things. So that's super nice too. So thanks everyone for being here, and thanks everyone for watching.
Yes. Without you, this wouldn't have been possible. So I appreciate everybody. If you're getting booted out of the room, please don't panic. It's nothing personal. We're wrapping up the show.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for coming today.
Look, how do I get you out of there?
I don't know. I just feel like a.
There you go. Hey, wow, what a show that was. Lots of brain power, mastermind live on the Business Renovator. And as always, I'm going to bring this up this way manually. The you in wonderful is deliberately a you because it represents you as the audience member. You are unique and you are wonderful, so continue acting like that. I have a plug for something that's happening in Los Angeles that I wanted to share before I wrap up. But you don't have to go to LA, but you could just go here, winwithramey.com, and you can learn about the mastermind that's happening there in September, which I'm going to, as well as, if that's not appealing to you, you can watch the replay videos on YouTube of the book itself. Can You Really Think and Grow Rich? This fellow, Ramey, as a student and teacher of it, it's an amazing opportunity to learn from Napoleon Hill's teaching and also the book that Ramey wrote. And Ramey went from nothing to something to losing it all to getting it all back, utilizing the principles from Think and Grow Rich. So until next time, in a week or so, we'll be back on the airwaves. I'm Coach Phil. That's a wrap for today.
I get shit done, I have fun. It's my time and I'm the one. I'm breaking through.